with the calls.
Sure. The next caller is, and I can't. I've lost my.
Andrew in Kensington.
There you go, Andrew. Good morning.
Morning, Sadiq. We spoke last year about social housing in Kensington, Chelsea, specifically about the Sutton estate. And I just wanted to know, why do you keep on giving money? It's now almost £200 million to Clarion, a company that's reducing social housing in central London. You know, last time we spoke, you said you promised that no new money would go through any new development plans without resident consultation. And then on 21st of December, when everyone was off on their Christmas holidays, you sneaked through £16 million, over £16 million to Clarion for a plan which the council are against, which the residents are against, which all the locals are against, and you sneaked it through on 21st of December so no one would see it.
Have we got that promise? I think we've got an echo, a reminder of that promise, Andrew. What would proof look like to you, Andrew? And then I can hold the Mayor to account in that search for that proof over the coming years.
One, that at least the same number of social housing is maintained in that area and not pushed out to other parts of Chelsea or up to the north or out of London. Two, that that if he's giving away our taxpayers' money to these people, that he negotiates with them first, that he says that no, this regeneration will not go ahead, the demolition of these houses will not go ahead. I mean, we want to see him supporting Londoners, not acting for the interests of these developers.
I think both those conditions are very fair and very reasonable.
Okay.
And so, and the promise to you, Andrew, is we will make sure that in relation to future estate regeneration, that a number of social homes are not less, they're at least the same, if not more. And secondly, I can tell you this, you speak to the housing association, you speak to the council, you speak to developers, and none of them will say that I'm, easy to negotiate with. Well, here's the good news, Andrew, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. So we've published the document that I promised I would publish, and it's quite clear that if there is any money from City Hall coming, and you are going to demolish even one social home, there must be a balloting of the residents on the estate. That was the challenge thrown to me by James Brien about a year ago, and that's there now. So no money from City Hall unless there is a ballot. And if you remember, the conversation we had a year ago, James, was what form the consultation would take, and you were pushing me, saying, why can't it be mandatory ballots? And I said, well, we're consulting, and you'd criticise me if I didn't consult, and we've come back and said it must be mandatory ballots. That's the good news, number one. The second good news is I've thrown in the bin the dodgy definition of what an affordable home is. If you remember, Andrew, previously the definition was one of two things. One, a home to buy costing £450,000, and or two, a home to rent which cost 80% of market value of rent. I've thrown that in the bin, and I've said my definition is one of three things: either a home where you pay a social rent, council property; two, London living rent, a third of average earnings, linked to earnings, not to market value of rent; or three, shared ownership, part buy, part rent. The good news is in the last year, the numbers of starts of affordable homes use new definition is a record 12,520, more than it's ever been since the Mayor had the powers. The good news, the number of social homes begun, council homes, in the last year is more than 2,800, which is more than the previous 4 years put together. And now, I still claim it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint, but even you would have to accept, Andrew, as one of my biggest critics, we've made progress.
Oh, I'm sure I'm nowhere near one of your biggest critics.
Well, that's those that are predicting I'm going to bring in Sharia law, I suspect.
No,
Go on.
Sadiq, you gave away £16.2 million to Clarion that were going to reduce the number of social homes in Kensington, Chelsea on 21st December. There was no ballot. You signed it off. And for a lot of other estates as well in London. And you go on about new housing being built. But you have given now over 200 million to these people, Clarion, you're guaranteed to give them. You're giving them, these are people reducing social housing in the centre of London, where we need it, without ballots.
So just because you're better informed than I am, Andrew. Andrew, just pause for a second. You're better informed on this than I am, for which I'm not going to apologise, because nobody knows everything. So if I've understood this exchange correctly, the Mayor has brought in what he promised to do, but he brought it in too late to save that 16.2 million quid that you say went to Clarion in December.
He announced it last year in October with his plan.
Right.
And he actually said on the radio, as you heard, that he wouldn't do anything without resident involvement.
And then there was a consultation.
Everyone's away on holiday.
Yes.
But I wasn't.
Well, what happened with that money then? How have they ended up with another 16 million quid?
I've not got the specific example here, but I'm quite clear about what our policies are. There must be a mandatory ballot of residents. No money from City Hall will go. And
when did that mandatory ballot kick in? When does that?
I think we published it in. I'm not sure. We published it. I mean, I remember announcing it in Barnet not too long ago, a few months ago. But I'm not sure exactly when.
If you were this vague in court back in your days as a lawyer, the judge wouldn't have been very impressed.
Well, if you'd have asked me, if you'd let me know in advance that there'd be a question about Clarion in Kensington. I mean, we've got 32 boroughs.
Promise you made last year.
To be fair, I mean, there's 12,500 starts last year. Even you wouldn't expect me to know every single one of the starts in every single part of the. London.
We know. Andrew is a fairly reliable witness, and this 16 million quid appears to have been handed over without any of the checks and balances.
But I'm quite clear. We consulted last year on the not unreasonable request for residents to be consulted. I changed my mind in relation to actually prescribing it should be mandatory ballots because of the evidence brought to my attention about residents who claimed to have been consulted and clearly weren't. So I now require developers, if you want any money from City Hall, you must consult by ballot. And that's a big change from what's been done in the past. No mayor in history has put this requirement upon developers, and it's really important we do so. Why? Because the public has lost confidence in even housing associations consulting properly with residents. And so if you want public money, if there's even one council home demolished, you must consult residents using ballots. It's mandatory.
Last word to you, Andrew.
Very quick, two things. One, Kensington and Chelsea had a huge disaster with the Grenfell Tower. We needed homes for over almost 160 families. On the Sutton estate alone, we have over 200 flats being left empty by Clarion, by the developer, because they won't fill them. So we want to know if Sadiq will just, for once, stand up for the residents and negotiate with these people. He's going to give them just about £200 million. It's an amount of money that I thought he should be aware of. It's a large amount of money. You know, if he's giving them that sort of money, at the very least, start negotiating, start being a leader, not just doing their wishes. It's time for you to step up to the plate and start leading.
Specific to the Sutton estate, Sadiq Khan.
Look, I've been quite clear in relation to if you want money from City Hall, if you want me to give permission for developments in London, you've got to do a certain number of things. One of those is to make sure there is significant numbers of affordable homes, the new definition, not the dodgy one. Secondly, is to make sure if you're going to demolish even one council home, that you consult the residents on the estate, but not simply consult in a wishy-washy manner. You've got to consult using a ballot. I can't be expected to be responsible for all the grievances Andrew has about KNC, the council, or things that were agreed before. I'm quite clear, though, in relation to developers, whether it's Clarion or anybody else. And by the way, not just housing associations, but also private developers as well, and councils. The expectation is quite clear. We need to build more genuinely affordable homes in London to make sure we address London's housing crisis.
Andrew, thank you. I suspect we'll be hearing from you again.